Hey, what's going on, sports fans? My name is TJ Jones. Welcome to another edition of the State of the NFL podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the National Football League. Thank you so much for tuning in, making the State of the NFL a part of your viewing or listening pleasure. I want to give a special shout out to everybody that is maybe watching this on my other channel, the State of the Saints podcast. This is a podcast that I do virtually every day, talking about some of the hottest topics in the NFL. So if you're into NFL talk, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to go ahead and put the link is already in the comments. So thank you very much. And shouts out to everybody that has already subscribed to the channel. So just want to give you all a sneak peek, a little bit of what we do over on the other channels. So if you're into, like I said, NFL talk, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some topics. This is live, man. This is live as live can be. And the reason I'm going live on the channel is because you have so many different topics, man, that need to be discussed. All the news coming out pertaining to the NFL. I mean, it's been absolutely insane, man. Guys getting paid, guys getting traded, guys getting cut. I mean, it is just unbelievable, man, the boatload of stories that we can choose from here. But we're going to go ahead and start with someone that is familiar to the New Orleans Saints, and that is Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson has received a $14 million pay increase that will boost his salary up to $30 million annually this season. Trey Hendrickson is in a final year of his deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. And, I'm happy for Trey Hendrickson, man. Like anybody that knows Trey Hendrickson, I'm definitely talking to some of those that may follow the New Orleans Saints. You know that the Saints drafted him. He was a third-round pick. He came out of Florida Atlantic. He had some issues that he was dealing with when he was in college, but he was able to go to the New Orleans Saints. He had 13 sacks on his way out, signed that deal with the Cincinnati Bengals, and has been extremely productive for the team. He had 17 and a half sacks last season. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and let you all know what Trey Day did last season. In 2024, he had 17 and a half sacks, 33 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. And, he definitely deserves a pay increase. We know that he would have been playing on about $16 million if he would have played this season. But of course, when you look around the National Football League, looking at some of these other pass rushers getting paid, guys like TJ Watt making $41 million. You got Myles Garrett making $40 million, Danielle Hunter making $35 million. And you look at his production, I'm pretty sure he looks at it like, man, look, I'm about as productive as these guys. I need to be paid. And we know that Trey Hendrickson at the beginning of, the offseason activities, like he wasn't taking part in it. He didn't show up until it was absolutely mandatory before he started really losing money. He was training out in Florida, and he goes to the team, and it's good that they work this thing out. I guess they probably saw the way that defense looked against the Commanders, the way that the Commanders were able to just go through that defense like a hot knife through butter, and they just realized, man, we need Trey Hendrickson. That's why it's very important for the players to be able to use something that they can, which is themselves. They use their services as leverage. And when you watch your team just go out there and fumble all over itself, and you have a really good quarterback in Joe Burrow, you don't want to waste his prime years. And, I can just think about, some teams that have had some really good quarterbacks but had horrible defenses. The New Orleans Saints for many years had Drew Brees as their quarterback, and the defense was just god awful. And, I think they squandered a lot of Drew Brees' prime years by not fixing the defense. The Cincinnati Bengals seem like they're following down the same path, but adding Trey Hendrickson for at least one more year could be ideal and beneficial to this defense. At least you have somebody that's going to be able to get pressure on the quarterbacks. And in 17 and a half sacks last season, I mean, that just wasn't an outlier. I mean, he basically matched, he matched the same production he had in 2023. So this guy had 20 Like this is insane, man. Like the way that this guy has been able to mount up these sacks over the last couple of years, man. And I just don't get why these teams don't want to pay these guys, man. I just don't understand. It seems like it'll be a no-brainer. Now I get it. Like when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they paid Joe Burrow, they paid T. Higgins, they paid Jamar Chase, right? And there's only so much money could go around. So I'm just wondering, is this the last year that we see Trey Hendrickson in a Cincinnati Bengals uniform? I think so, man. I gotta say, I don't mean to disrespect any Cincinnati Bengals fans out there, but the way that the Bengals conduct business is just absolutely embarrassing. We already got those stories out about how they made their former players have to pay their way and have them sitting in the stands, when they were honored. Like it's just bad, man. I mean, historically, Cincinnati has been known for conducting business in a very shrewd, cutthroat type way. But I can just tell you this: it's going to be kind of difficult, no matter if you have Joe Burrow on your team, and he is a guy that makes you feel, if you sign on the dotted line, that you have a chance of contributing and helping the Cincinnati Bengals make it to the championship. But I mean, when you think about the front office and the way that they conduct business, I think that, free agents that can come in and make a difference probably would rather go to another team than to deal with the front office of the Cincinnati Bengals. This was way too much, way too much trouble and way too much time being spent trying to negotiate something that Trey Hendrickson deserves. They know that. And, I'm just glad that they got it done. I still don't feel like he got what he deserves, especially like when you look at his production over the last couple of seasons. Like I said, 35 total sacks in the last 2 years in the National Football League. That's absolutely freaking insane that he's putting up those type of numbers. But at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, it's unbelievable the way that this guy just put together a season the way that he did. Like this is next level stuff right there, man. The way that this guy just goes out there and plays. Like there's nothing really special about Trey Hendrickson, the way that he operates. He just goes out there, shows a lot of heart. I mean, brute force. Everybody knows, T-Rex. I mean, he's going to give it his all every single rep. And he's been doing that over the last couple of years. But congratulations to him. I'm glad that they got a deal done. Cincinnati needs to do better, or they're going to end up not being able to get highly touted free agents when guys come out and they become unrestricted and be looking for a team. Once again, I mean, you have the talent offensively that makes guys believe that they come to the team, they can win. But at the end of the day, if you're conducting business the way that you are, then guess what? Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to have a hard time getting guys. So you better make sure that you building through the draft, because nobody going to want to come to the Cincinnati Bengals to play for them. But let's go ahead and I'll read some of your comments here. Shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody that's watching this across different platforms. I really do appreciate your time. Once again, the link for the State of NFL is available inside of the comments. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you're watching this across other platforms. But let's go ahead and move on. And I'll read some of your comments here. Says, I know Micah looking around like Will was when they moved out that house. Or I guess you're saying Will Smith moved out that house at the end of the Fresh Prince. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll get into Michael Parsons a little bit later. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, man. That's just absolute, train wreck in his own right. That's probably one of the most nastiest contract negotiations I've seen in a minute, right? I mean, that's next level stuff right there. Another guy that deserves to be paid. We got, let's see, Trey should still be a Saint, though. I mean, look, if you're a Saints fan, you definitely miss Trey Hendrickson, right? 35 sacks in the last 2 seasons. This man almost got as many sacks, than the whole entire team. Like he did in 2 years that what they done in like 1 season almost. So yeah, you definitely miss him. No doubt about that. But let's go ahead and move on. Talk a little bit about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders struggles in his final preseason game number 3. Shedeur Sanders goes out there and It wasn't a really good performance by Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I got his stat line right here, man. This last preseason game, I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly here. He was 3 of 6. He had 43 yards and he was sacked 5 times. He had a net loss of rushing yards of minus 41. Like he had a minus 41 yards rushing because he was sacked. And we all know, Shedeur Sanders sometimes he just doesn't know how to live to fight another day. Sometimes he tries to extend plays, but he keeps running backwards. But you can't do that in the National Football League, man. These guys are too fast. They're way too talented, and they're going to track you down. Like they will probably work at Jackson State or Colorado, but not in the NFL. But Shedeur Sanders did struggle, and of course the haters are going to come out, and they weren't saying much in preseason game 1, but they came out the trees in game 3. Talking about, I told you he wasn't an NFL quarterback, this, that, and the third. I just wish people would have the same energy. That's all. I just wish they had the same energy. But he did struggle, man. And these are some of the things that have been documented about Shedeur Sanders, his inability sometimes to throw the ball away, trying to make a spectacular play, but he ends up making things a little bit worse. But I can make an argument and say that the Cleveland Browns did not do Shedeur Sanders any favors. They had him out there with backup offensive linemen. 4 of those offensive linemen that they had that were blocking for Shedeur Sanders weren't on the team. Also, the 2-minute drill, he was pulled from the game in order for Tyler Huntley to run the 2-minute drill. So it just has people talking, wondering, are the Cleveland Browns trying to sabotage this guy? But my question is, why would you want to sabotage Shedeur Sanders? It's pretty clear that people want to see this guy, and he does have talent. But, it goes back to the entire draft process. A lot of people felt that Shedeur Sanders, the way that he carried himself during the draft process, was unbecoming. It was one of those situations where people felt like he thought he was bigger than the shield. And we know that the NFL, if they're going to do one thing, they're going to find ways to humble you, right? Doesn't matter how talented you are, no matter how much money you can generate for a team, no one is bigger than a shield. And they're going to show you that. We know without a shadow of a doubt that Shedeur Sanders didn't deserve to fall to the 5th round. But that was basically a public spanking, if you will. It was one of those situations, right? Not literally, but figuratively. It was a spanking. It was for them to realize, talking about Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders and Sanders family, that doesn't matter how great your father was. If you're Deion, doesn't matter what his name does and how it just generates buzz. You're not bigger than a shield. And he ends up getting drafted, but we know that Dylan Gabriel was drafted before Shedeur Sanders. And, Dylan Gabriel, to his credit, I mean, he looked really good. I think he was 12 or 16, 100 plus yards in his last preseason game. He showed accuracy, man. And I must admit, I didn't think very much of Dylan Gabriel, especially me sitting in a crowd at the NFL Combine watching him throw. I mean, I wasn't impressed at all. I was wondering, can his skill set translate to the NFL? Is this one of those guys that really put up gaudy numbers and and when he goes to the NFL, he can't play dead in a Western. I'm just wondering, but he definitely showed accuracy, showed poise, and he definitely deserved that 3rd round pick. But Shedeur Sanders, of course, falls down the depth chart, and he will more than likely be their 3rd string quarterback since, according to reports, we now know that Kenny Pickett has been traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's 3 quarterbacks in the room. Well, 4 if you count Deshaun Watson, who's not around the team, but he's still under contract with the Cleveland Browns. So he is the 3rd string quarterback. Dylan Gabriel will back up Joe Flacco, but there's still a chance that Shedeur Sanders may end up playing. I mean, injuries do occur. Maybe, he'll be able to boost up, move up the depth chart. But it's going to be an uphill battle for him, man. It's going to be an uphill battle for him. I don't feel like the Cleveland Browns are just setting him up to fail, but I do feel like what they want to do is they definitely want Dylan Gabriel to succeed more so than Shedeur Sanders, because look, teams are really big on optics. I always talk about that. Like, they don't want the general public, individuals to even think that they don't know what they're doing or they're making bad decisions. Like, so if, in my opinion, if Shedeur Sanders went out there with that 2-minute drill, despite how he looked earlier in the game, the 5 sacks, losing a total of 41 yards, if he would have facilitated a 2-minute drill, that would have been the last moment that people remember Shedeur Sanders, because we know that this is his final game he's going to play for at least, like, I guess, like, maybe like down the line, maybe they want to see what he has, but it's going to be a while before we see him, especially if he's playing in Cleveland. So if the last memory that people had was him facilitating a 2-minute drill, how would that make the Cleveland Browns look? It would make it feel like they're holding them back. Well, look, I don't care. Kevin Stefanski didn't need to allow Tyler Huntley to go out there to run no 2-minute drill. Like, everybody knows what Tyler Huntley is. Tyler Huntley has been in the league for quite some time. He's backed up Lamar Jackson. He's moved around and been the Miami Dolphins. People know what Tyler Huntley is. I mean, people know what he brings to the table. There's no need for him to go out there. But when you have a young, inexperienced quarterback, that is something that you can actually build on, something he can actually learn from. I feel like Shedeur Sanders would benefit from a 2-minute drill more so at this stage than Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley going to land on his feet. I mean, he's a solid quarterback. Somebody's going to call him up. He's been a solid backup in that role, so he'll get a job. But Shedeur Sanders, I feel like that was a learning rep for him that Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns denied him of. So I don't know what's going to come of this. I don't know if this is going to be one of those situations where, they're going to pretend like this guy, is just third-string quarterback worthy or whatever, and that's just the way that he's going to be. I don't know, but I do know this. The dude has talent, and I just hope that they actually allow him to be able to utilize that, and they don't just try to hold him back because of the reputation or what people are saying about him. It seems like, he's doing all the right things. He's carrying himself in a dignified manner. He just believes in himself. And I think that's something that you need in a quarterback. You want a quarterback that believes in his ability. I think that's the first thing, right? I mean, talent and skill and all that. I mean, everybody has that in the National Football League. Some people have better skills than others, but if you have confidence to go along with your skills, that can go a long way. So good luck to Shedeur Sanders. The Cleveland Browns, like I said, their quarterback room was looking decent out there. Joe Flacco looked pretty precise out there. I mean, he looked very comfortable. I mean, he's a seasoned veteran. Dylan Gabriel had a good performance. Shedeur Sanders, not so much. But we know that he has talent, and, everybody has bad games. So there's that. Go ahead and read some of your comments here. Cartel says, TJ, what are your thoughts on the situation with Shiloh Sanders being released? It's a good question there, Cartel. Shouts out to you, man. Look, it's unfortunate, man, but that's the way the NFL goes sometimes. These guys get opportunities as undrafted free agents to go to teams. Some guys make it, some guys don't. But I don't think that this is the end of Shiloh Sanders' football life. I think that, he showed some things with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They gave him glowing reviews, his work ethic, the way that he ingratiated himself in Tampa Bay culture. Shouts out to my boy James, who I do the NFC South Roundtable with. He talked about, Shiloh Sanders glowingly. So it just seems like, he was doing all the right things. It just seems like maybe they're comfortable with the room that they have. And, the question was, where should Shiloh Sanders land, right? I mean, what team would be a good fit for him? I can see him, out in Jacksonville alongside Travis Hunter. I can see that happening. I can see him maybe, going to, a team, probably similar to like what the Chicago Bears and Dennis Allen run out there with that 4-3 and, and different type of defenses. I feel like he can, be able to be beneficial there. But I just think that regardless to where he goes, he's probably going to end up on the practice squad. And the way that he is going to make the team is going to have to be on special teams. But he's a very smart player, man. He's not afraid to go out there and lower the boom. He's a thumper. He's a very aggressive. He doesn't back down from anyone. Obviously, we saw that. The reason why he got ejected in his final game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But his football life is not over, man. He's just going through what many, undrafted guys go through. His name just so happened to be Sanders. But, he is a guy who, signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Drew Rosenhaus, one of the most popular agents in sports, is his representation. So he'll be all right, man. He'll land on his feet. Drew Rosenhaus, man, he's gonna find some spots for his clients. So that's not gonna be an issue. Not at all. Not at all. Let's see. Shadur will probably play end of the season, week 15 to 17. Well, it all depends on how the Cleveland Browns look. It look like they're pretty decent, man. Look, the Cleveland Browns have been a decent football team. They just have had some quarterback issues, right? Consistency at the quarterback position. They just got to find that guy. When they find that guy, I think they'll be okay. Defensively, they always play really well. Offensively, they got the weapons on the team to be able to make some noise. And, it's probably going to be a little tough, being in the AFC North. I don't see them winning that division. Not at all. But, I do feel like, the Cleveland Browns, they can beat some quality teams in the NFL. They got the talent on the team. I mean, you spend all these years being in purgatory. I mean, you getting all these top 5, top 10 picks. We didn't even talk about Mason Graham, who they picked in the top 10. This guy's been making waves since he has joined the team, right? I mean, we know that, they have a really good running game. I mean, you need Quinshon Judkins. I mean, he's dealing with the contract thing. Of course, we know about the domestic dispute that he had that probably prohibiting him from being able to reach a deal. I think that the Cleveland Browns probably feel like they have leverage over him because of the whole situation. He's probably looking for that second round pay that most second round picks have been getting, which is guaranteed money. But I mentioned this when it happened with the whole domestic dispute. He basically got himself tossed out of the room, right? By you doing that, regardless to how it ends. I mean, I know he got, they threw the case out, but at the end of the day, it still gave the Cleveland Browns leverage over you. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. I think they'll probably end up reaching some type of agreement. I heard reports about him possibly going back to college. I don't see that happening, man. We heard the same thing with Shamar Stewart, and all that kind of stuff. These guys aren't trying to go back to college because we know, like if Quinshon Judkins was a second-round draft pick in this draft, you do something like that once again. You try to buck the system is going to buck back. So you was a second-round pick. This time around, you might be a 6 or 7-round pick or not even get drafted, which means that you're not going to even get the same type of money that you would actually get if you were negotiating now. So, the Cleveland Browns, they got talent on the team, man. They just got to figure this thing out. Speaking of talent, let's talk a little bit about a guy that I respect a lot from the wide receiver position. That is wide receiver Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin received a 3-year, $96 million contract extension from the Washington Commanders. He will receive a $30 million signing bonus. Congratulations to Scary Terry, one of the most, high character wide receivers. I mean, I just have a respect for guys that just do it the right way. Like Terry McLaurin has been through what I like to call some ish. When you think about the Washington Commanders now, it seems like, they're trending in the right direction. It seems like they got the right quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Of course, we know the last time we saw the Commanders, they were on the doorstep of a Super Bowl. Of course, they got knocked down by the Philadelphia Eagles, their NFC East rivals. But it seems like they're trending in the right direction. But before all this started to transpire, we know Terry McLaurin was in the trenches. I mean, he was dealing with mediocre quarterback play after mediocre quarterback play, but he always seemed to find himself in a conversation as one of the top wide receivers in the National Football League. He falls into that category, in my opinion. He's like one of those Keenan Allen, type wide receivers, like very underrated, but extremely productive. Like nobody really talks about him because of the situations that he's been in. Yeah, his team wins some football games. They might make the playoffs, but everybody knows they're probably going to be one and done. In the case of Terry McLaurin, I mean, they couldn't sniff the playoffs when he was first starting out with the Washington Commanders. But, he continued to put his head down, had a lunch pail mentality. Anybody that was throwing him a football, he was just going out there making it work. And this past offseason, the man wanted to get paid. I mean, he started looking around at these other wide receivers getting paid, like Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson got paid last year, and DK Metcalf got paid with the Steelers. And he's looking around like, man, I've been in the trenches with this football team. Now we getting prosperity. Now we getting too big for our britches. We want to bring in Deebo Samuels, and all these guys want to come here now. But before that, nobody wanted to come here, and I was still out here putting in that work, putting the team on my back. So, he didn't go out here and, make any type of controversial take. I thought the way that he came to the table, the way that he spoke to the media about his displeasure with his contract, I thought that was highly classy. Most guys are probably, say things, taking shots at the organization. It was mostly like, I just wish that they take a look at me, see what I have done, and give me my just due. And that's why I have so much respect for Terry McLaurin, and that's the reason why I'm happy that this man got this money. They needed a number one receiver. Like, I like Deebo Samuel a lot. I think he's going to be a key contributor to this team. You don't make a trade with the 49ers if you don't feel like he won't. I know people making fun of like his size and all that kind of stuff, but man, this dude is a freak of nature. I mean, he gonna make plays. But Terry McLaurin is a completely different beast, man. The dude is incredible, man. I'm looking at his stats also and how he fared out on last season. He had 82 receptions for 1,096 yards and a franchise record of 13 receiving touchdowns. So he was the go-to guy for Jay Daniels, and he came up successful more times than not. So, I mean, he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. It's unfortunate that he didn't get an opportunity to take part in training camp. I'm pretty sure he's not losing any sleep. I mean, because training camp is extremely, rigorous, and, it takes a lot out of you, according to what players say. So, I mean, he comes in fresh as a daisy. I'm pretty sure he was training, on his own, even though he wasn't taking part in on the field activities. But he got it done, and I expect for him to have a really good season. So good for him, man, and good for the Commanders getting it done, paying a guy who deserves it, right? And not just deserve it by being a good human being, but being a productive football player for the Washington Commanders. Terry McLaurin reminds me of Marcus Colston. Yeah, man. I mean, I can see some similarities. A guy that's extremely underrated as a wide receiver, and a lot of people don't really pay that much attention to him, right? They don't really pay that much attention to the production, and because the Washington Commanders haven't been very good, but now they're one of the top teams in the NFL because of their recent popularity and the popularity of their new quarterback Jaden Daniels. So, but once again, congratulations to him. 3 years, $96 million, $30 million signing bonus for Scary Terry. But everybody seems like they're getting paid. We talked about Trey Hendrickson. We talked about Terry McLaurin. And now, we got to talk about somebody that hasn't got paid yet. And one of the most ugliest contract negotiations in recent memory, I'm talking Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons still has not been paid by the Dallas Cowboys. And I just don't understand it for the life of me. I mean, I don't know if this is, a ratings, pull, or we know how the Dallas Cowboys like to be in the tabloids. They like to be front and center on Monday Morning Quarterback. I don't know if they're just doing this to make this man sweat, or they just know that, okay, man, we just want to dominate these storylines. I don't know, because it just does not make sense. Like, tell me if this makes sense to you. All right. If I told you, man, a guy who is looking for a new contract, right? He's looking to be the highest paid defensive player. These are his stats. Okay. Michael Parsons, for the most part, since he has come into the league, has played in every single game. Last season, he played in 13 games. But check out these stats: 30 solo tackles, 13 assists, 43 total tackles, 12 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 pass deflection. In 13 games, this man still had double-digit sacks. You got guys that play all season and don't sniff double-digit sacks. This man, 14, 15, 16, 17, he missed 4 games, and this man still had double-digit sacks. And yet, Jerry Jones is acting like Michael Parsons grows on trees or something. I don't get it. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that, Jerry Jones wants to establish his power. He wants to flex his muscle. And this has been the issue with the Dallas Cowboys. It's the reason why the Dallas Cowboys are a joke. Yes, I just said that. They are a joke. No disrespect to any Dallas Cowboy fan out there. But y'all know what the deal is, man. You have a lot of pride in your football team, which you should. I mean, the history of the Dallas Cowboys is well documented. But over the last few years, we know that the Dallas Cowboys been making it off nostalgia alone. And honestly, this is the reason why they can't take a step forward, and all of the teams that are in the East, for the most part, just run circle around them. Yeah, they're competitive with them in the regular season, but when it's time to really put your big boy pants on, when it's, excuse my French, nut cutting time, that's the reason why they fall flat. Jerry Jones continues to get in the way of progress for the Dallas Cowboys. Don't take my word for it. I mean, go take a look at legendary actor Denzel Washington talking about it. I mean, Denzel Washington, who is a big-time Dallas Cowboy fan, nodding his head in disgust at what he sees from the Dallas Cowboys. And I must admit, I'm nodding my head too, because I don't understand it. All 31 other teams would love to have a player like Michael Parsons on the team. If they had to pay Michael Parsons, they're wondering, where do we need to draw up this contract and how much? Because this is a guy that can be a difference maker for your team. This is a guy that can be an impactful player for your team. When you need a play late in games, this is a guy that you're relying on. Everybody talks about how much of a freak this guy is. I can remember Teron Armstead talking about Michael Parsons. Teron Armstead, one of the best left tackles in the last 5 to 10 years in the NFL, talking about how tough it is to go up against a guy like Michael Parsons. That's a well-respected left tackle right there. Everybody can see the talent. I don't understand what's taking Jerry Jones so long. Now, if you don't know what's going on, it basically started back in March. Apparently, Jerry Jones and Michael Parsons kind of talked a little bit. I call it a little smoke-filled room type negotiation where, it's off the record maybe. Okay, let's reach an agreement. Me and you, mano y mano, right? They supposedly reached the deal. Both guys were happy. And then Michael Parsons goes to his agent, David Mugoletta. Mugoletta says, you know what, Micah? I don't think so, right? And he goes to Jerry Jones and says, thanks, but no thanks. I'm talking Mugoletta. But I just think about this, right? So this whole contract negotiation happened in March. It happened in March. And it was around the same time Myles Garrett got paid. And at the time, before TJ Watt got paid, he was the highest paid pass rusher in the NFL. So I'm wondering to myself, maybe David Mugoletta probably knew that maybe somebody like Myles Garrett can set the market. And maybe Jerry Jones was trying to get ahead of the curve where, I don't know, if Myles Garrett get paid 40, maybe I can get him for a low price of 37, right? I can save a couple $1 million in that deal. And Mugoletta probably knew that. So he's doing what's best for his client, not for the Dallas Cowboys, not for their organization. And to me, I felt like that was where everything just started to unravel because, man, these billionaires, they got egos, right? How dare you make me look ridiculous? How dare you try to make a fool out of me, right? And we have been in this negotiation situation for months now. We see Michael Parsons on the sidelines with a hoodie on, looking disinterested. The last game when they played against the Atlanta Falcons, he had his Dallas Cowboys, outfit like turned inside out. He's on the sidelines laying down sleep, because this guy doesn't understand it. And we all know about the note that he wrote to the Dallas Cowboys and also to the fans requesting that he be traded. Jerry Jones, instead of him trying to negotiate and work things out with Michael Parsons, he has a sit-down interview with Stephen A. Smith, basically giving out like I own you type vibes because, he was talking about, oh, we have him for the next 3 years, even threatening to franchise tag the guy. So basically saying like, oh, we own you and there's nothing you can do about it. That's not the type of energy that you want to have. Now, I get it. I think when it comes down to contract negotiations, I think Jerry Jones loves this time of year. He likes that because he likes to flex his muscle. He likes to, it's one of those times where he really just shows like, man, this is the reason how I was able to attain the Dallas Cowboys, because I'm a rough, shrewd operator, right? I do what's fair, but at the same time, I want people to understand that I'm Jerry freaking Jones. And having that type of attitude is the reason why the Dallas Cowboys still talking about 1995. The same reason why, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might have been Lee who mentioned Will Smith standing in that living room on the final episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What if I told you that year was the last time the Dallas Cowboys made the Super Bowl? And that's the reason why. Until Jerry Jones does what's best for the team instead of looking at himself and trying to big up himself. Like, everybody knows Jerry Jones. He's one of the most well-known owners in the NFL. Jerry Jones is must-see television every single week because we know if the Dallas Cowboys getting beat to sleep on TV, they're going to pan up to the luxury box to see Jerry Jones' expression. It has become about as standard as you watching a football game. Like, they're going to pan up to the luxury box to see how Jerry Jones' emotions are. Like, no other owner gets that type of treatment. But you got to be able to get out your own way. Like, we know that you own the Dallas Cowboys. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for Michael Parsons. I'm like, this is going on long enough. This is going on long enough. And I would hate to see Michael Parsons, who can contribute to the Dallas Cowboys, be sitting out. This is a young guy in his mid-20s. He's in his prime. And the Dallas Cowboys, they need leadership on the defensive side of football. So what are they going to do? I'm hoping that this is one of those situations where maybe Jerry Jones is just looking to get some attention and he knows all along he's going to pay Michael Parsons. Maybe want to see him sweat a little bit to show that he is Jerry Jones. But that ain't the type of energy that's going to win you games. That's not the type of energy that's going to ingratiate yourself with your players. And once again, that's the reason why people are very concerned, if they're Dallas Cowboy fans, about what the Dallas Cowboys are going to be until Jerry Jones is no longer a part of the team, which we know, and I hope this is long down the line, he's no longer with us. And that's what people are thinking. But he got to be able to get out his own way and pay this man. And if you're not going to pay him, then allow him to go somewhere else, because people are offering first-round draft picks for him. They're offering first-round draft picks. I believe the Green Bay Packers was looking to acquire him, willing to send a first-round pick for him. And I'm pretty sure a lot of teams would be happy to have a player like Michael Parsons. So, let's just hope that they get this thing done, man. Man, stop acting like y'all ain't see Jerry Jones in that picture. He really think he owned Michael for real. Hey, that was giving off those type of vibes, especially when Stephen A. Smith, and I don't want to make this about that, man, but I'm just saying what people can perceive that as. I'm pretty sure maybe when he was talking like that, maybe it was just a way of, he was looking at it from a leverage standpoint. Like, yeah, you can sit, you can soak, you can turn your uniform inside out, you can do all those things, but you're still under contract. And until I decide that I want to rather move you or pay you, you belong to us. Like that's the type of vibes it was giving off. So when people have these type of conversations, like, that's not really helping the cause. It's actually justifying how people may feel about how these NFL players can look in certain cases. You already know what I'm talking about. That's all I'm saying. Maybe he didn't feel that way. Maybe he was just looking at it from a contractual standpoint. But I'm just telling you what the energy looks like and what that can be perceived as. So got to be careful, especially in this world. Packers, Ravens, and Bills have all sent deals. Yeah, because they understand the talent, Lee. They understand the talent that Michael Parsons possesses. Like, he's a talented guy, man. 13 games, he has 12 sacks. You got guys who played, Like, man, played 3-4 years and still can't get double-digit sacks. Can't get 12 sacks total. And this man didn't even play a full season and gave you 12 sacks. So imagine what he would have did if he would have played in those other 4 games. Probably would have had 20 sacks. Plus Jerry not giving him up. Nah, you're not going anywhere. That's why I say I feel like maybe this is one of those situations where Jerry just trying to get some entertainment off, maybe some entertainment value. They do have that Netflix special that's out about the Dallas Cowboys. So maybe he knows that. Maybe he's just trying to, keep it buzzing in order for them to be able to get some eyeballs on the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. All I know is, this is not, this ain't the way to do business, man. And it's so frustrating because Jerry Jones not going anywhere if you're a Cowboys fan. Like you feel like this guy, you're basically at his mercy, right? Because until he realizes that things need to change, which he's an 82-year-old guy. I mean, I don't see too many 82-year-olds trying to change anytime soon. But until then, you're like, I'm screwed. I'm screwed out of this situation. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do, if Jerry Jones, doesn't realize the error of his ways? Like, what are we going to do when it comes to contracts? What are we going to do when it comes to, like, players being productive? What are we going to do about getting over this hump? What are we going to do? So, I don't know, man. Dallas Cowboys, they're going to still be stuck in the mud, in my opinion, as long as Jerry Jones is the owner. Both loyal to their city, both loyal to their team, stuck around through the bad years, never go their recognition. Both have great hands and a great release. What else you need? Obviously, Colston was. Yeah, I mean, both. Look, the New Orleans Saints, a wide receiver, Marcus Colston, put up very productive years. I felt like his demeanor and the way that he carried himself probably prohibited him from really getting the attention he deserved. He played during the era where the diva receiver reigned supreme. You still had like guys like Steve Smith Sr. and Chad Ochocinco, T.O. towards the end of his career. You still had those guys who were high-profile diva-type receivers who demanded the majority of the attention because they were polarizing. Meanwhile, I like to refer to like Marcus Colston. I feel like Marcus Colston, if I can compare him to anybody, he reminds me of a football version of Tim Duncan. Not Tim Duncan. Like, nobody really talked about how, everybody knew Tim Duncan was great, but nobody was really talking about him, like, because he was just fundamentally sound. Like, they used to call him the big fundamental. That's what Marcus Colston was. He was a presence. He meant a lot to his team, and he just did things. Like, he wasn't trying to be the center of attention. He just did his job, and went home. Like he scored a touchdown, he across his heart, point up to the sky, keep it moving. And when guys operate like that, sometimes they fall through the cracks. Like I said, he to me, he's the football version of Tim Duncan. Really good player, quiet, at the end of his career, like, I feel like he got the recognition he deserved. Like, you ask anybody who's the greatest power forward of all time, most people will tell you Tim Duncan. Right? But when it comes down to it, playing basketball, who is your favorite player? Unless you're in San Antonio somewhere, you're not going to mention Tim Duncan, right? Just one of those guys that matters in the grand scheme of things, may not have gotten the recognition that, that most people would get if they were more outspoken. So I think that kind of hurt Marcus Colston, his personality, but he was extremely productive. So I definitely agree. Like, one of those guys who flies under the radar. Let's see. Michael, you are always welcome in NOLA. Look, I'm pretty sure the Saints would love to have a player like Michael Parsons. He would definitely thrive in that 3-4 defense that they have now. Let me stroll up a little bit. As a matter of fact, since, this is the state of the NFL, I guess we can talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints and this quarterback competition that they have going on, off the record. Y'all know it wasn't, I won't say off the record, but y'all get what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't a part of the topics, but since we're here and it's NFL news, because the NFL regular season is just around the corner, and the Saints still have not decided who is going to be their starting quarterback, Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck. Both guys really put together a solid performance, games 1, 2, and 3. I feel like this is a tough decision for new head coach Kellen Moore. I think more than likely they'll probably lean towards Spencer Rattler. I talked to individuals within the league, a couple of people that are well respected within the National Football League. A lot of them feel like Spencer Rattler is going to start over Tyler Shuck, and I also agree with the way that they feel about it. I do. I think that Spencer Rattler would probably start. Tyler Shuck will probably, maybe come in if things don't go ideal for Spencer Rattler. But, both quarterbacks, are solid. Both of the guys are going to need some reps in order for them to improve as quarterbacks. But I think based on, how the Saints are structured, some of the things that they may lack, I think that more than likely I would go with Spencer Rattler. And the general consensus of who I've spoken with said that they will roll with Spencer Rattler as well. So I mean, take that for what it is. Take it at face value. I mean, I'm not saying that that's going to happen or not, but I think Spencer Rattler probably should start over Tyler Shuck. There is another quarterback who, I've been looking at, and I feel I got to say this too, right? I got to mention this. I have nothing but respect for Dan Campbell. Like the way that he has resurrected the Detroit Lions franchise has those fans in Detroit believing that they got a chance at the Super Bowl. We know that over the last couple of years, the Detroit Lions have been one of the most premier teams in the NFC. A lot of talent on that football team. But there was a press conference that was held, and the question was asked to Dan Campbell about the play of second-year guy Hendon Hooker. When I look at this situation, and I was just absolutely disgusted at the way that Dan Campbell went to the podium and basically, I don't want to say he threw Hendon Hooker under the bus, but it was just the language that he used, and that could be looked at as a guy, looking at a football players and feel like, man, we tried to do everything we could with him. I mean, ain't no saving this dude. Hendon Hooker was a third-round draft pick a few years ago in the NFL draft. Excuse me, I think he's in his third season. In his third season. He was drafted a couple of years ago. Of course, he was having that really big year at the University of Tennessee. He tore his ACL, pretty much derailed their season because he was on a trajectory to actually be a contender for the Heisman Trophy. And, he ended up tearing his ACL. He went through the draft process. I can remember speaking with him at the Senior Bowl. Good guy. It's kind of like the situation similar to Tyler Shuck. You have an older guy. He was 25 years old at the time where he was drafted. Those same questions that Saints fans hear about Tyler Shuck was the same questions that they heard about Hendon Hooker. I think that he's talented. I think that in a right situation, I think he'll find success. But, Dan Campbell basically saying, well, maybe this guy needs a change of scenery. I think that'll benefit him a lot. Basically saying, like, he just needs to go somewhere else because we tried to do everything we could with him. I mean, that's what that's giving off. And when you get rid of a third-round pick that quickly, it's like, man, ain't no saving grace. They must have saw something, that they didn't like. And then they're going to start looking at who was the offensive coordinator, right? Ben Johnson, right? Ben Johnson, who is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. He, is, known for his offensive innovation and being this mad scientist now, the modern day Mike Leach, may he rest in peace. And, now you have the Detroit Lions basically washing their hands with him, right? I mean, almost like, okay, man, we had Ben Johnson. We still couldn't get the best out of him. We got a new offensive coordinator. He can't get nothing out of him. So what's that gonna do for Hendon Hooker? Like, is a team gonna look past the comments of a Dan Campbell? Probably not, especially like when you look at where the Detroit Lions are and how Dan Campbell is perceived in modern day NFL circles, which is a really good, reputable, respected coach that people look at as a guy that can lead men. And now you have Hendon Hooker, who's been released by the Detroit Lions or will be released. And now you're just wondering where this guy can land. And, like I said, I think there's something there. I just think that he needs to align himself with the right team that can actually believe in him, in an offensive coordinator or offensive-minded coach that can get the best out of him. So I hope that he lands on his feet. But I just didn't like the language that Dan Campbell was rolling with in that press conference, making it look like just Hendon Hooker is a lost cause. I don't feel that way, man. I just think that sometimes guys need to go to situations that fit their skill set and have a really good scheme around them. I think the most dangerous thing that fans sometimes do is they'll just wash their hands with a player. They just say it doesn't work out in one spot. Their team is maybe looking for a player at that position, and then they'll be like, oh, no, or he's not no good, or he isn't any good. Like, why would we want that? Well, we see guys go to different situations and find success. They go to different teams and they find success, right? I mean, look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, moved around the National Football League, right? He went from the Jets, went to Carolina, to San Francisco, and then he met up with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, and he resurrected his career. Look at Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield played for the Cleveland Browns, went from the Cleveland Browns, went to the Carolina Panthers, to the Rams, and now with the Buccaneers, he's looked at as a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the National Football League, threw 40 touchdowns last season. So if everybody looked at it that way, like, oh, man, Baker Mayfield, look how many times he bounced around the league. But when he found the right coordinator, when he found the right team, he was able to find success. Sometimes guys just have to land in the right spot. And I just don't like the narrative. When people flake out at one spot, it's like, oh, there's no redeeming qualities about them. We never look at organizations. I don't understand this. If an organization is picking in a top 5, top 10 every single year, I say this all the time. If an organization is picking in a top 10, top 5, top 3, almost every single year, how is it that it's the player fault? Anybody ever just wonder what's wrong with the development? What about the coaches that you put around this player? But we know that organizations can sometimes control the narrative. So nobody's going to look at the organization. They're going to continue to look at the players and say, you're not good enough. I think scheme matters. I think positioning matters. I think where you go matters. And I'm not ready to just give up on players just because they had a bad outing at their first spot or even their second spot. Maybe they just need to find the right spot, and then you'll get some production out of them. But, everybody wants instant gratification. They want it like that, real quick, right? So if this player who everybody's saying, oh, man, he's supposed to be the next this, the next that, and all of a sudden, it takes some time, he might have the potential to be the next this or the next that, but he may not be that right now. But people don't have patience because they want to see it right then and there. They want this meal cooked right then and there. They want the microwavable type mentality, right? Where I'll just put it in the oven, I put it on 1 minute, it's hot. But sometimes guys got to go through the motions. Sometimes guys go to organizations that don't fit them. But they get blamed and a team is picking in the top 5. Oh, it's his fault because he didn't do well. Well, what happens when that player leaves and you still picking in the top 5? I yet to see fans apologize to a player after that. Like, dang, man, maybe this player wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm not saying that the Detroit Lions are a bad team. Of course they're not. It just means that maybe Hendon Hooker needs to go somewhere where he can align with someone that can fit his skill set, where he can actually maximize his potential. So, that's the way I feel about it. I didn't like that language by Dan Campbell. I didn't. That can actually destroy a guy's career. I say go with Rattler, but fix them guard position. Yeah, the offensive line of the New Orleans Saints definitely needs to improve. Definitely needs to improve, man. Let's see. I would go with Shuck. Rattler is scared to make mistakes. I don't know if he's scared to make mistakes based on what I seen. Well, I take that back. I agree with what you're saying, but it's why he's afraid to make mistakes because he's in a competition right now. I think if you tell him that he's the starter, you might see a different version of him. Right now, you're trying to make the right decisions because you're in a competition, right? And every throw, every decision that you're making is being analyzed. Well, if you become the starting quarterback, it will still be analyzed, but they're not going to yank you because you have a bad game. They're going to give you, some time in order for you to be able to figure it out. You have the starting quarterback title now, so you don't have to too much worry. Or, you still going to have to play better, but I don't think you have to oh, man, I just overthrew this guy, Oh, man, they going to bring Shuck in. No, I don't think it's going to be that way. I was throwing 5-yard passes and check down. He was scared to push the ball. Like I said, man, we in a competition. I feel like both guys kind of were overthinking things based on the games that I saw. TJ, you already know how our people are. Don't want to support anything or anyone until they're hot. Everybody wants the meal, but nobody wants to help prepare it, right? I mean, it's that story of the Little Red Hen. Like, Little Red Hen wanted to bake some bread, wanted to, get all the ingredients together. Nobody wanted to help, but when it was time to eat, everybody wanted to pull up to the table. So can't be like that sometimes, man. Like that's why I try to give players an opportunity to dig themselves out of a hole, man, because I understand how hard football can be, man. It's hard. And, just covering the NFL and being able to go to these different events and seeing how hard these guys work and seeing, what this actually means to these guys. It's like you find yourself rooting for them because you see the human aspect of those players. Like, I think fans, they go to the stadium, they sit in the crowd, and they look at these players as larger-than-life individuals that are making boatloads of cash, and you need to just be good at what you do. And these guys are good because if you was to line up against some of them, I guarantee you it'll be a tough outing for you. I'm talking about the most mediocre wide receiver or the most mediocre cornerback that you're going to see. I mean, these dudes possess talent. So, like I said, you see the human aspect. You see these guys grinding. Like, you see these guys, talking to their parents. Like, you see them, like you see it, like, at the end of the day, they're kids. Like, they freaks of nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, big muscles, you know what I'm saying? Cock diesel type cats, but like these like 21, 22-year-old guys, man. And just think about like if you're not 21 or 22, but like you were at one time. Like just think about like how your mind was. Like you still had that, you still had that mind frame. You probably was still your mama or your daddy baby, right? These guys are human. And sometimes they're going to go through the motions and they're not going to always get it right. Like some guys are going to be everything you want them to be right away. And they might be at the top and they probably don't fall. But then you probably have a guy who everybody was talking about, oh man, this guy's highly touted. He might end up being mediocre average, right? For a couple of years. But then that's where, everybody want to talk about and evaluate, oh, is he good enough? Is he good enough? And then, you're hearing these things and, maybe he don't end up being everything that you want him to be. And then everybody, oh man, he sucked, right? Oh, he flake out at one spot. What makes you think that he going to make it at the second spot? I don't know. But I think that guys need to go to situations sometimes that benefit them. Sometimes they go to teams that don't have their best interest at heart. They want them to play a role that they never played, and they don't find success, and then everybody's talking about they're not good enough. TJ, that's called template bias. Let's see. And when people assume that because something has been done a certain way or happens a certain way, it always be the way that that's not the case. They're all anomalies. Yeah. I mean, look, when we see something that is spectacular, right, we set that bar, right? And the bar becomes the standard. Like I said, when you look at Jaden Daniels, his rookie season, he led the Washington Commanders to the NFC Championship, right? Everybody now is comparing their rookie quarterbacks to Jaden Daniels and what Jaden Daniels did. So if Jaden Daniels can take the Commanders to the championship, well, if you're the number one overall pick, that's the same type of energy that fans may have for their number one pick. Even though what we're seeing is like what you said, King Arthur, is an outlier, is an anomaly. Like, you're not going to see that very often. You'll see a guy who is a generational talent, seem like he's like a man amongst boys, being young, being a rookie, maybe in his second year, and you're like, man, that's amazing. But think about all these other quarterbacks, all these other running backs, all these other receivers, all these other position groups, guys who come in, and they basically just an average, everyday, run-of-the-mill rookie who goes through the ebbs and flows of the NFL. That's what, that's the standard. What Jaden Daniels did, that's the exception to the rule. What RG3 did this rookie season, that's the exception to the rule. Cam Newton, that's the exception to the rule. Like, these things don't happen all the time. Right, TJ? That's why you roll with Rattler. He wasn't scared. He threw a pick six under pressure. Talking about Tyler Shook, yeah. I mean, but that's not the reason why, man. I just think that what the Saints are dealing with right now, you might just want to go with a Spencer Rattler. And like I said, I've talked to quite a few people around the NFL, and everybody's talking about Spencer Rattler, like our world with Spencer Rattler. TJ, I don't understand that Vele uproar. Dude could literally be an X factor for the Saints. He definitely something those quarterbacks need to be remotely successful. Yeah, I mean, look, for those that don't follow the New Orleans Saints made a trade with the Denver Broncos. They send their fourth and their seventh round pick to the Denver Broncos in exchange for second-year wide receiver Devon Vele. The New Orleans Saints have their wide receiver room consisting of Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and veteran Brandon Cooks. All of these guys are skillful wide receivers, but they pretty much are the same size, right? And when you look around the NFL, most teams like to have guys that have the size of a Olave, the Shaheeds, the Cooks, guys that can stretch the field. And then you'll probably have that big body guy on the other side that boxes guys out, and make those contested catches. And the Saints haven't had a wide receiver like that. But Vele, who is 6'5", 210 pounds, he comes to the New Orleans Saints with that. And it has been a topic of conversation among Saints fans. Is this the right move, especially when you see some of these other teams get players that were more productive than Devon Vele was, who only had 475, I won't say only, but he had 475 yards and 41 receptions last season. And you have a guy like Brian Robinson Jr., who was the running back for the Commanders. He gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a 6th-round pick. So you end up giving up a guy in Brian Robinson, and you basically just give away a 6th-round pick. Meanwhile, the Saints give it up a 4 and 7. But I'll just look at this situation. The 49ers, well, they got Christian McCaffrey. So if it's like, okay, man, we give you the 6th-round pick. Now we want a 6 and a 4. Okay, man, thank you. God bless. Good night. Right? But with the Saints, I mean, they're a little bit more desperate because they haven't addressed that need. Having a guy who is a big body guy that you can count on, that's a possession guy. But Devon Vele, when he was targeted, he caught the ball 74% of his time, where you want your wide receiver to be, definitely, in that 70% range. So he can be a red zone threat. Did most of his damage in the red zone. Did most of his damage like on 3rd down, moving the chains, and that's what the New Orleans Saints need. So, but yeah, I mean, my final thoughts are simple. I'm happy that Trey Hendrickson got paid. I don't expect for him to be with the Cincinnati Bengals next season. I expect for him to have a productive year. And when he tests his free agency, he'll get the money that he deserves. He'll probably get the money that you see the Myles Garrett or the TJ Watt have gotten this offseason. So, it's good enough, right? It's $30 million. I definitely don't feel like it's enough. But if you're in the final year of your contract, you can get those $30 million, have a productive year, get those double-digit sacks, and then, you can basically, a team will give you a blank check, right? Just sign. What do we sign, right? So that's good that he got that done. They definitely need him on the defensive side of football. Shadur Sanders, probably not going to be talking about him for a while, especially like if Joe Flacco continues to start and Dylan Gabriel is the backup. But, hopefully the Cleveland Browns will do right by Shadur Sanders if they don't feel like, he has anything, or they don't feel like they really want him. We know that Jimmy Haslam, the owner, came out and said, I was shocked that they end up drafting him. All these different things. Like, so if you're not satisfied or happy with the guy, don't really want him, like, just allow him to go somewhere else, and maybe a team pick him up, and maybe they can find a potential or give him a fair shot. But, he didn't play well. I'm not going to make excuses. He did not play well in that game. You cannot be around that thing running around like you at Jackson State or something. Like, this ain't Jackson State Southern. This ain't Jackson State Prairie View. Like, you can be able to get away with that. Like, you can extend plays, run backwards, and, get your wide receivers open and throw the ball down the field. But in NFL, that ain't going. Everybody's fast. You got defensive ends running 4.4s and 4.3s. So you ain't about to get away with that in the NFL. You better live to fight another day. You better chunk that thing out of bounds or throw it at the feet of your running back. But, he'll learn, man. He's a rookie, so those are things that he have to improve on. Terry McLaurin couldn't have happened to a better person, a high-character guy getting his contract extension. Once again, 3 years, $96 million, $30 million signing bonus. And hopefully Michael Parsons can get his money, because I'm tired of talking about the Dallas Cowboys and them not paying this man. It's just absolutely ridiculous that we're actually going through these things. We're actually dealing with this. The dude deserves better. No doubt about that. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the NFL podcast. Once again, my name is TJ Jones. Hopefully you enjoyed this edition. You can subscribe to the channel. Shouts out to everybody that's watching this on my other platform, which is the State of the Saints, where we cover the New Orleans Saints. But if you like the State of the NFL, you want to hear NFL news, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We do daily videos, consist of maybe like 8 to 10 minutes. We went a little longer for this episode because there were so many topics to discuss. As the season progresses, plan on doing reviews after primetime football games, and also just talking about some of the highly profiled news, the things everybody's talking about. And if you're into that type of stuff, feel free to subscribe. Thank you all so much. And until next time, I'll see you down the road.